welcome to this video on Atlantis. I'm going to be talking about Atlantis and Lemuria, but based on what I have been told by my spirit team. To be honest, this isn't something that I ever had any interest in talking about or exploring much in detail. And the reason that I'm talking about it now is they made it very clear that they wanted me to ask them about Atlantis. To the point where I just couldn't ignore it. I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and we'll talk about Atlantis. And, this is a very big sort of topic in a lot of spiritual discussions. And often talked about how, many people are incarnating now who had past lives in Atlantis, and people describing that. And so I really didn't know that much about it, but I just started asking, what it was, and was told that it was a higher vibrational realm. It could also be physical, so it could be like in this 3D dimensional realm, but it could be a higher dimensional realm, and I actually forget, so I'm going to ask right now. So it could be up to like a 12 dimension realm, but really all the way through, this physical reality as well. And that it can be all over the earth, that it's not just localized to one particular place. And, people often describe it as being like, in the Atlantic or all over. And I've heard even for Lemuria, even descriptions of it going up to like British Columbia. But it can be all over, whatever it is. And that it can come into an existence as a peaceful realm. And when I say when it can come into existence, what I'm getting at is when I asked my spirit guides, and what they were telling me was that this is not something that in our earth, in this dimension, we think of time being in this sequential way of, we have, BC and then AD, and we're in 2019 right now, and something maybe it happened 50 years ago or 5,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago, or it will happen 5,000 years in the future. So we have this lineation of time. Now, time doesn't really exist and function that way, and the reason that for me personally that I know this, and I know that there's a lot of quantum physics and theories and different ways to describe this, but for me, I learned this when I was young, in that I would have premonition dreams every night where I would see things that would happen the next day in exact detail, except it was like looking at a negative image, like the image was sort of flipped. Instead of viewing it from left to right, for example, in reality it would be from right to left, or vice versa. So it was just like the exact thing, but just flipped, like a reversed image. And yeah, it would be the same people, situations, sitting in certain ways, discussions, the things that people were wearing, all the details would be there exactly. And, I had no way, and it really tripped me out all the time. I was like, how is it possible that I'm seeing the exact same thing that I dreamt last night? How did I know then what was going to happen now? And I don't actually have the answers. I do think that there is, because there is no boundaries of time, space, and location in the field of consciousness, this unified field of consciousness. There's no boundaries. There's no boundaries of past, present, future. It's all just one unified field. It's all coexisting. I don't know if it's coexisting simultaneously, or in that level you can access any point, because it's all connected. It is just all one field. We are all one field. We are all connected. Everything in the entire universe, whether you identify as a starseed or a human, or coming from the Pleiades or Sirius, or wherever, Vega, it doesn't, like, we're all part of this same field of consciousness. There is no separation at any point between any of us. You can know anything about anything, because we are all one. So it doesn't matter how far something is, it doesn't matter when it occurred or when it will occur. You have access to that in that field of pure consciousness, which is a field of really pure knowledge. You can know, when you know that field through your own awareness, through meditation. I transcend regularly, and whatever your means to access your source energy is, the more you connect with that, the more, settled, centered your mind, body, and emotions are, the more you have access to this field of all knowledge. And I can talk more about specifically the techniques and everything that I utilize. Maybe I'll do that in a different video, but for now, I don't even really want to talk so much about specific techniques, because there are, I feel, we have a lot of technologies and tools and techniques and therapeutic modalities on this planet right now to really create, I want to say, heaven, or sort of the ideal of what Lemuria and Atlantis represents. We can live in a society where people are happy and we're not killing each other all the time. This is possible. We have this crucial period of time right now in which we have to sort of come together and find solutions to be able to live on this planet much longer. So this idea of Atlantis, when I started communicating with my spirit team, they were telling me that it exists in the future, in this sort of timeline, that it's not something that happened in the past, but the people that are maybe remembering or talking about past lives in Atlantis, they're actually maybe did incarnate from that time of when Atlantis exists, but that it's in the future. So we don't necessarily incarnate in a linear timeline either. It could be you have one lifetime 5,000 years ago, you have one lifetime 200 years from now, whatever it is. So specifically, my guides are telling me that it's somewhere between like 30, 40, 50,000 years in the future that this exists, this place that we call Atlantis. And I don't really want to get too caught up in the specifics of it, because it potentially hasn't happened yet. It's really a field of all possibilities. It really means any potential outcome could happen, and that people who are identifying as Atlantean or Lemurian are here now because they want to change the outcome of what happened, or what is going to happen in Atlantis and Lemuria. So this is really the information that I've gotten, that we're here now to really sort of come together and work together in a more harmonious way. And I think, like I said, I think that there are tools and technologies, ancient technologies, that are here on the planet right now. Some of them have been scientifically proven to elevate consciousness, to actually change the collective consciousness to the point where we can have reduced crime rate, improved political relations, reduced hospital admissions, accidental deaths, daily death toll in war-torn areas can go down. There are all these things. This has been validated through scientific measures using specific technologies of consciousness. And then there's also been studies on prayer and many forms of meditation and different ancient rituals and ceremonies, and just working on ourselves both as individuals is really, really important, because the world is as we are. How we see the world is dependent on what is going on inside of us. So, if you're really, really tired and having a really lousy day, it doesn't matter like what you do. Everything is just going to seem lousy, and you're going to, have sort of these, gray colored glasses on. If you're more rested and in a better mood, everything that you do is going to seem a little bit lighter and easier. So taking care of ourselves, being rested, is really, really, really key. And having regular practice in meditation and eating the right foods, taking the right kinds of, liquids, supplements, whatever you need to do to be as healthy as possible, exercise, doing any kind of therapy or other modality to deal with your trauma and emotional state is really, really key. what it really comes down to is just living as centered in the heart and as full of this heart value as possible. This is really what connects us and brings through this quality of consciousness, this universal quality of consciousness. And, they say the seat of consciousness is in the heart, and I truly believe that. I think the brain is, this sort of instrument or vehicle for us to experience these refined qualities of consciousness. But I know when I was younger, like, I just wanted to live by my heart, because I knew that whatever came to me from my heart was true and right. And this is really the best advice that I can give you or anyone, is to listen to your heart and do whatever that you can to protect it. The emotions and trauma that build up and around it, that sort of harden it, do what you can to release those and soften them, so that you can live in that value of the heart more and more fully. Just trying to think if there's anything else that I specifically got about Atlantis. That was the main thing, that it's not something that has happened in the past, but it's something that's happening, that could happen in the future, but we can't identify with any, sort of written outcome or theories about Atlantis that are really, even mine, I don't even know, I don't know if this is real, but this is what my spirit team is telling me, and they've been spot on and accurate about a lot of other things, including, different origins. My origins, I started tapping into the Akashic records as soon as I started connecting with them. It was like they had been like kind of waiting for me to just to reach out to them, and got a lot of really interesting information. And I've been helping people sort of determine their starseed origins, which there are different sort of starseed types that I've been told that are associated with Atlantis, and different kinds of beings, like Sirian, for example, the water dimension with the mermaids, whales, dolphins, that this is a very much an Atlantean feature that will be, that can be lively. And but it will be many different sort of races and different types of beings with various origins, and not just any one particular star system or human or creatures on Earth. It'll be many different things. And also that we don't have quite all of the tools yet to make this a reality. We have some that are very effective and helpful, and not that it's just about tools and technology, it's really also and it's not that everybody has to be doing all of these things to make this sort of more utopian reality happen or manifest. It really just takes a few people, clear in their mental, emotional, physical state enough so that they can reflect this field of consciousness out into the world. Not everybody has to even buy into this. It takes very few people. In fact, there's also been a lot of research with certain form of meditation that if you even have as little as 1% of the population doing it, meditating, that it helps improve crime rates and improve the quality of life for everyone on the planet. If you have even fewer people doing even more advanced sort of techniques of meditation, then it has an even more powerful effect. But I believe that it's not just the meditation. It is actively working on our physical soul structure, field of energy. All of this comes into play so that, in how we interact with other people with a real conscious awareness and realistic approach, in not just putting like glitter and sparkle on things, but like really looking at what the issues are and the problems are, and being able to address them head on and face them with dignity and compassion, and the ability to listen to each other without judging. This is one of the most key things in in just helping us exist together in harmony, so that we don't feel so isolated and alone and separate all of the time. If we're going to come together as a race of human beings on the planet, and whatever other races may come through, from wherever they may come from, then we really have to, realize that we don't know everything. We don't. From our experience is so limited, we can't possibly know what other people have experienced. And what we think is impossible might just be like the reality for other people. This idea of having premonition dreams even, or seeing into the future. That this is something that I experienced so clearly when I was young, and yet, I talk to people who, they're like, oh, there's no such things as, psychics or intuition or anything like that. And this is really just, these are just natural ways of functioning when our conscious awareness is closer to that source field, that unified field. But most people sort of function on the surface, and this is how most of the earth operates. So how could they possibly believe that there's anything more? This is the dense reality, the very painful, dense reality that most people on this planet are living in all the time. And I get caught up in it all the time. I sometimes am just like going off and, my small problems and things in the world that seem so real that, when I just kind of step back and take some time to rest and recuperate, meditate, then they just don't, they're so insignificant most of the time. It's really, sometimes it's entertaining, sometimes it's just really sad. But I hope that you get some value, and that you've gotten some value of what I've shared about this, that, we can't get attached to even the descriptions of things that people have said, occurred in different star systems, and what different star seeds groups have gone through, and the types of personalities and the things that have happened. We can learn from the past, just like anything that we go through in this life. We can learn from and be informed from the past, but we can't get attached to those stories, because we have at this moment in time the possibility to create something that is so much bigger and so much greater, and we can do this together. Thank you.